If I asked 10 people what you should do to protect your kidneys, chances are 9 of them would give you the exact same answer. Drink more water and cut back on salt. And yes, both of those things matter. But there's a part of the story that almost nobody talks about. And it happens while you're asleep. At night, your body enters a period of rest and recovery. Your blood pressure is supposed to drop, which can also reduce the pressure placed on the tiny filtering structures inside your kidneys. So here's a question most people never think to ask. What you put into your body during those last few hours before bed could either support that process or quietly make your kidneys work harder. And after the age of 60, paying attention to this becomes even more important. Here's something you really need to understand. Kidney problems can develop for a long time without causing any pain. A lot of people don't find out there's a problem until they get routine blood work. And by the time their test results finally show something is wrong, kidney function may already have declined significantly. That's why you don't want to wait until you feel something before you start taking care of your kidney. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. There are fruits that can fit into a kidney-friendly diet, including choices you may eat in the evening. Some of them are probably already familiar to you. Others might completely surprise you. And there's one fruit in particular that deserves special attention, because people with certain kidney conditions may actually need to limit it. The reason has to do with a mineral that most people never think about. But before we get to that, I want you to understand something that will make the rest of this list much easier to follow. Think of your kidneys as a massive filtration system that never gets a day off. Each kidney contains hundreds of thousands of tiny structures called nephrons. Inside those nephrons are microscopic blood vessels that help filter your blood, remove waste, and keep substances your body still needs. And here's the important part. Your body doesn't simply create new nephrons to replace the ones that are lost. That's why protecting the kidney function you still have becomes increasingly important as you get older. Now think about what happens when those delicate filters are exposed to more pressure than they're designed to handle. One of the major factors is high blood pressure. Picture a garden hose running under excessive pressure year after year. Eventually, that constant force can cause wear and damage. Something similar can happen to the delicate blood vessels involved in kidney filtration. But there's another issue you need to know about: oxidative stress. Here's an easy way to picture it. Think about a piece of fruit you cut open and leave sitting on the counter. After a while, it starts to turn brown. Inside your body, oxidation is part of normal biology. But when there's an imbalance between damaging processes and the body's protective systems, oxidative stress can contribute to cellular damage. And now we get to a part that may completely change the way you think about eating at night. Your blood pressure isn't supposed to stay exactly the same 24 hours a day. In many healthy people, blood pressure naturally falls during sleep. That nighttime drop is part of the body's normal rhythm and can reduce the workload on the cardiovascular system. When that nighttime drop doesn't happen properly, it can be associated with a higher risk of cardiovascular and kidney problems. So the real question isn't simply, which fruit is good for my kidneys? The better question is, which food choice makes sense for my body, considering my blood pressure, kidney function, and the minerals I may need to control? And this becomes especially important if you already have kidney disease, because a fruit that's perfectly healthy for one person may not be the best choice for someone with advanced kidney disease. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make when searching for kidney health advice online. They see a post claiming that a certain food is amazing for your kidneys, and they start eating it every single day without considering their own blood work or medical history. Don't do that. If you have kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, or abnormal kidney test results, talk with your healthcare professional before making major changes to your diet. Now I want to hear from you. Do you usually eat fruit before bed? Tell me in the comments which fruit you normally eat at night. I want to know if it's one of the choices we're about to talk about. And stay with me until the end, because we're not just going to talk about the better options. We're also going to look at which fruits may require more caution depending on your kidney function. And honestly, that could be the information you needed to hear before deciding what to eat tonight. Every fruit I'm about to show you earns its place on this list by doing one of 3 important things during that overnight window. Some provide antioxidants that help the body deal with oxidative stress. Others contain plant compounds that may support healthy blood vessels and normal blood pressure. and some work further upstream through your gut, uric acid metabolism, or urinary tract, potentially helping reduce some of the workload placed on your kidneys. Most of these fruits are also relatively low in sodium and can fit into a balanced diet. But I said most. There is one important exception, and when we get to it, I'm going to explain exactly why people with certain kidney conditions may need to be careful. So let's get into it. Number 1. Blueberries. If you're looking for a simple place to start, blueberries are one of the easiest choices on this list. That deep blue color isn't just there to make the fruit look good. It comes largely from natural plant pigments called anthocyanins, which have powerful antioxidant properties. And this matters because oxidative stress can contribute to damage throughout the body, including the blood vessels that are so important to kidney function. Your kidneys depend on an enormous network of tiny blood vessels to filter your blood. So supporting overall vascular health is an important part of supporting kidney health. Blueberries also make sense as an evening fruit because they contain relatively little sodium. But there's one word I want you to remember: potassium. Keep that word in the back of your mind because it becomes extremely important later in this video. For a simple serving, think about roughly half a cup. And yes, frozen blueberries can work too. Frozen fruit can still provide many of the same nutrients and plant compounds found in fresh fruit, so you don't have to feel like you're missing out just because your berries came from the freezer. Now, let me know in the comments, fresh blueberries or frozen blueberries, which one do you prefer? Number 2. Cranberries. This is where a lot of people misunderstand the story. Cranberries are famous for their connection to urinary tract health, but there's an important distinction you need to understand. Cranberries contain plant compounds called proanthocyanidins, which have been studied for their potential role in preventing certain bacteria from attaching to the urinary tract. And why does that matter when we're talking about the kidney? Because the urinary tract and kidneys are connected. Certain urinary infections can travel upward and potentially cause serious complications, so supporting urinary tract health is another piece of the bigger picture. But here's where people make a major mistake. They hear cranberry and immediately reach for a sugary cranberry cocktail. That's not what I'm talking about. Many cranberry drinks are loaded with added sugar. If you're choosing cranberry products, pay attention to the label and look for options without added sugar. And if you have kidney disease or take medications, it's worth checking with your healthcare professional before regularly using concentrated cranberry product. A small amount can go a long way. Now I'm curious, have you ever used cranberry juice for urinary health? Tell me yes or no in the comments. Number 3. Red and purple grapes. And with grapes, the color matters. Look for a darker red or purple varieties because their skins contain a variety of beneficial plant compounds. One of the most studied is resveratrol. Research has looked at resveratrol for its potential antioxidant and cardiovascular effects, including effects on inflammation and blood vessels. And when you're talking about kidney health, blood vessels matter. A healthy blood pressure pattern is important because your kidneys are constantly working within your cardiovascular system. There's also something interesting about grapes. They contain naturally occurring compounds that have been studied in connection with sleep and circadian health. And getting enough quality sleep is important for maintaining healthy blood pressure. But don't turn grapes into an all-you-can-eat nighttime snack. They contain more natural sugar than some of the berries we've discussed, so portion size still matters. A modest serving in the evening is plenty. And here's a simple trick. Put them in the freezer. Frozen grapes take longer to eat, feel more like a dessert, and can be a satisfying alternative when you're craving something sweet. Number 4. The apple. Now we get to a fruit that may support your kidneys in a completely different way. The apple. Instead of focusing only on what happens inside the kidneys, think about what happens earlier in the process, inside your digestive system. Apples are a good source of a soluble fiber called pectin. That fiber becomes food for certain beneficial bacteria in your gut. And scientists are increasingly interested in what's known as the gut-kidney axis, the connection between the digestive system and kidney health. Your gut and kidneys don't operate in completely separate worlds. What happens in your digestive system can influence processes throughout your body. Apples also contain plant compounds such as quercetin, which has been studied for its antioxidant and vascular effects. And here's something simple but important. Don't automatically throw away the peel. If you tolerate the skin well and the apple is properly washed, keeping the peel can provide additional fiber and plant compound. Try a medium apple as an evening snack. You can slice it and add a little cinnamon for flavor instead of reaching for a sugary dessert. And if you're watching your kidney health, remember that the best fruit isn't necessarily the same for everyone. Your kidney function, potassium level, medications, and overall diet all matter. So far, these fruits have been working through different pathways, providing fiber, antioxidants, and plant compounds while fitting into a balanced diet. But the next fruits are where this gets even more interesting, because we're going to talk about options that may affect hydration, uric acid, blood pressure, and urinary health. And then we'll get to the fruit that can completely change the conversation for someone with reduced kidney function. That's the one you definitely don't want to miss. Before we keep going, let me ask you for one quick favor. If this is the first time someone has actually explained why your kidneys may need different support at night, instead of simply telling you to drink more water and eat less salt, take a second to subscribe and hit the like button. And if you know someone dealing with high blood pressure or diabetes, two major risk factors for kidney disease, send this video to them, because this is the kind of conversation that often gets skipped during a rushed office visit. Now, let's keep going. Number 5. Tart cherries. This one is a real surprise, because tart cherries may support your health through a pathway that the other fruits on this list don't target in quite the same way. And there's an important distinction. Sweet cherries and tart cherries aren't exactly the same thing. Tart cherries have been studied because of their potential effects on uric acid. Uric acid is a waste product your body produces, and your kidneys help remove it from your bloodstream. When uric acid levels become too high, crystals can form and contribute to gout. High uric acid has also been associated with kidney problems and certain types of kidney stone. And here's what makes tart cherries interesting. Some research suggests that tart cherry consumption may help lower uric acid levels, although the effect can vary from person to person. That means tart cherries may be one more piece of the puzzle when it comes to reducing factors that can put stress on your kidneys. There's another reason tart cherries get attention. They naturally contain compounds associated with melatonin, the hormone involved in regulating your sleep-wake cycle. And quality sleep matters because healthy sleep is closely connected to healthy blood pressure pattern. So you have two interesting areas of research here: uric acid and sleep. If you want to try tart cherries, choose an unsweetened option. You might use a small serving of unsweetened dried tart cherries or a modest amount of pure tart cherry juice diluted with water. But always check the label. If the bottle says cherry cocktail or is loaded with added sugar, that's a very different product. And if you take medications or have kidney disease, check with your healthcare professional before using concentrated tart cherry products regularly. Now tell me, have you ever tried tart cherries? Type yes or no in the comments. Number 6. Strawberries. Strawberries belong on this list for many of the same reasons as blueberries, but they bring some advantages of their own. They provide antioxidants and plant compounds, including vitamin C and ellagic acid. These compounds have been studied for their antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. And that matters because chronic inflammation can contribute to damage throughout the body. Strawberries are also mostly water and contain fiber, while being relatively low in calories. That makes them a light option when you want something sweet at night without reaching for a heavy dessert. A simple serving could be around half a cup to 1 cup of fresh strawberry, depending on your overall diet and individual needs. Slice them up and eat them on their own, or pair them with plain yogurt if that fits your diet. Simple, light, and much easier on your evening routine than a bowl of heavily processed sweets. Number 7. Pineapple. Now here's one that doesn't get nearly as much attention when people talk about kidney health. Pineapple. One reason it stands out is an enzyme called bromelain. Bromelain has been studied for its potential anti-inflammatory effects and may have benefits in several areas of health. Pineapple also provides a vitamin C and other plant compounds that contribute to its nutritional value. But there's an important reality check here. Pineapple is not a kidney medicine, and you shouldn't eat it expecting it to repair damaged kidneys. Think of it as a nutritious food that can fit into an overall healthy eating pattern. The biggest thing to watch is portion size. Pineapple tastes sweet because it contains natural sugar, so you don't need a huge bowl. A modest serving of fresh pineapple is plenty, and when possible, choose fresh or frozen pineapple instead of varieties packed in heavy syrup, because once you're adding a bunch of extra sugar, you're changing the nutritional picture completely. Number 8. Citrus fruits. And now we've reached the surprise I mentioned earlier, oranges and other citrus fruits. This is where things get a little more complicated. Some people with kidney problems have been told to avoid certain high-potassium foods, but citrus fruit can also provide an important compound called citrate. Citrate can bind with calcium in the urine and may help reduce the formation of certain types of kidney stone. That's one reason citrus fruits can be useful for people who are prone to certain calcium-based kidney stone. Oranges also provide vitamin C, fiber, and other beneficial nutrients. So why the warning? Potassium. For someone with healthy kidneys, potassium from a normal diet is generally handled efficiently by the body. Potassium is also an important mineral that plays a role in nerve function, muscle function, and blood pressure regulation. But when kidney function becomes significantly reduced, the kidneys may not be able to remove potassium from the blood efficiently. That can cause potassium levels to rise too high, and extremely high potassium can become a serious medical problem. So here's the rule I want you to remember. If you have diagnosed kidney disease, especially advanced kidney disease, or you're taking medication that affects potassium levels, don't make major changes to your intake of high potassium foods without talking to your healthcare professional. Don't guess. Don't follow a random list on social media. And don't assume that something that's healthy for one person is automatically healthy for you. Your blood work matters. For many people with healthy kidney function, citrus can be part of a nutritious diet. For someone with advanced kidney disease and elevated potassium, the situation can be completely different. That's why there is no single, perfect kidney for everybody. Your kidney function, potassium levels, medications, blood pressure, and medical history all matter. And before we get to the recipe, I need to make one thing very clear. These foods can be part of a healthy diet and may support overall health, but they do not repair damaged kidneys or replace medical treatment. If you already have kidney disease, your diet should be based on your individual lab results and the guidance of your healthcare team. Because when it comes to your kidneys, the right food depends on the person eating it. These foods are not a treatment for kidneys that are already seriously damaged. If you're experiencing swelling in your legs or around your eyes, foamy urine, blood in your urine, a major decrease in the amount of urine you're producing, or pain in your back just below the ribs, don't try to manage those symptoms with food alone. Get medical attention. And if you've been diagnosed with kidney disease or you take medication that affects your blood pressure or potassium levels, talk to your healthcare professional before making major changes to your diet. Food is the foundation. It's not the entire building. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Gerald. Gerald was 71. He was retired from teaching, took a walk every morning, and believed he was doing pretty well health-wise. But his blood work told a quieter story. His eGFR had dropped into a range where his kidney function needed closer attention, and his creatinine had gradually increased. He was shocked. He didn't have diabetes. He barely drank alcohol, and he had always assumed kidney problems happened to people who simply didn't take care of themselves. But kidney disease isn't always that simple. We didn't start by completely changing his life. We started with his evenings. Every night, Gerald would sit in front of the TV with a bag of salty pretzels and a ginger ale while watching the news. That meant a regular dose of sodium, and added sugar was becoming part of his evening routine. So we changed the routine. Some nights, he had a small serving of blueberries and sliced strawberries. Other nights, he chose an apple with cinnamon or a small serving of unsweetened tart cherries. We kept citrus earlier in the day, only after confirming that his potassium levels made that choice appropriate for him. He also added a short walk after dinner. The goal wasn't to find some magical food that would rebuild his kidneys. The goal was to remove some of the less helpful habits and replace them with healthier ones. A year later, his eGFR had remained stable. And I want to be very clear about something. That doesn't mean the fruit healed his kidneys. Kidney function that has been lost generally cannot simply be rebuilt with food. But when kidney function remains stable instead of continuing to decline, that can be a meaningful result. His blood pressure was also better than it had been in years. For someone in his 70s, maintaining stable kidney function can be a real win. Now let's talk about the bonus, A simple evening snack you can put together in about 2 minutes. I call it the kidney-friendly nighttime blend. But remember, this is a general food idea, not a medical treatment, and it may not be appropriate for everyone with kidney disease. Start with a small handful of blueberries, around a quarter cup. Add 4 or 5 sliced strawberries. Then, add a small splash of unsweetened cranberry juice or tart cherry juice. Next, add about half a cup of plain, unsweetened kefir or yogurt if dairy fits your diet. Add a little water to thin it out. Finish with a light sprinkle of cinnamon. Blend it until smooth, and that's it. The point isn't that this drink somehow repairs your kidneys. The point is that it gives you a simple alternative to an evening snack loaded with salt, added sugar, and highly processed ingredients. Have it about an hour before bed, if that timing works comfortably, and you can change it up. Want something a little sweeter? Add a small amount of frozen red grapes. If dairy doesn't agree with you, skip the kefir or yogurt and use water instead. And if you don't want to use a blender at all, keep it even simpler. A small bowl of blueberries and strawberries with a spoonful of plain yogurt can make an easy nighttime snack. Because the blender isn't the tool, the substitution is the tool. You're replacing the salty, heavily processed nighttime snack with whole foods that provide fiber, vitamins, and beneficial plant compounds. And I intentionally left citrus out of this recipe. Why? Because of the potassium issue we talked about earlier. If your kidneys are healthy and your healthcare professional has no reason for you to restrict potassium, citrus can still be part of a healthy diet. But if you have reduced kidney function, your potassium level matters. So don't get your numbers checked and ask your healthcare professional what fits your situation. Now, here's exactly what you can do tonight. 5 simple steps. Number 1, close the kitchen a little earlier. Instead of finishing the night with something heavily salted or highly processed, choose a small serving of fruit if that fits your diet. The goal is to make your evening eating pattern more supportive of your overall health. Number 2, choose a fruit you already have at home. Blueberries, strawberries, or an apple can be simple options for many people. Keep the portion reasonable, especially if you're watching your overall sugar or calorie intake. Number 3, if you want to try the nighttime blend, keep it simple. Blueberries, strawberries, a small amount of unsweetened cranberry or tart cherry juice, plain yogurt or kefir, if appropriate, and a little cinnamon. Number 4, take a 10-minute walk after dinner. For many people, a short walk can be a simple way to add movement to the evening and may help with blood sugar and blood pressure management. And remember, blood pressure is one of the most important modifiable factors affecting long-term kidney health. Number 5, if you have kidney disease or take medication that affects your blood pressure or potassium level, write down this question and ask your healthcare professional this week. Which fruits are safe for me based on my current potassium and kidney function? That one question can help separate the foods that may work for you from the ones you may need to limit. Because there is no universal kidney diet, your lab results matter. Now, eating the right foods is one piece of the puzzle. But there's another piece that many people over 60 may not have checked. A single blood or urine marker can provide important information about kidney health, sometimes revealing changes that aren't obvious from symptoms alone. And here's the part I want you to remember. Don't wait until you have symptoms to ask about your kidney function. At your next appointment, ask your healthcare professional what kidney tests are appropriate for you and whether anything in your results needs closer attention. And in the next video, we're going to break down which kidney marker to ask about, what the number actually means, and what questions you should take to your doctor if your results are moving in the wrong direction. Because when it comes to your kidneys, knowing your numbers can give you something incredibly valuable. Time to act.